Good evening and welcome to the Friday night edition of Newsmax Prime. I'm J.D. Hayworth. Of prime interest tonight, his, hers, and hotly debated. North Carolina no longer dominates the debate over transgender restrooms. Now that discussion has moved into the Republican presidential campaign, prompted by Donald Trump's response to a question yesterday on NBC's Today Show, and in turn, Ted Cruz taking up the issue on the stump.
You leave it the way it is. There have been very few complaints the way it is. People go, they use the bathroom that they feel is appropriate. There has been so little trouble.
Have we gone stark raving nuts? This is the political correctness. This is basic common sense. I'm the father of 2 little girls. Here is basic common sense. Grown adult men, strangers, should not be alone in a bathroom with little girls.
For more on the story, we're pleased to be joined now via Skype from Washington, D.C. by the president of Citizens United and the Citizens United Foundation, David Bossie. For full disclosure, we should note that I was honored to be the first Ronald Reagan Fellow of Citizens United following my days in Congress. Now, from that disclosure to your discernment, David, Donald Trump getting quite a reaction over his support of transgender people using whichever bathroom they want. It may damage his standing with social conservatives, but by one assessment, be helpful with independents. Do you agree?
I do. I think that social conservatives are scratching their head all over the country right now. This is, again, not a professional politician. Again, somebody in Donald Trump who just kind of talks off the top of their head as opposed to what you and I are used to dealing with, which are, constitutionally grounded policy wonks, if you will. That's what Ted Cruz really is. That's what John Kasich is. That's what a lot of these candidates tend to be. I think that Donald Trump really speaks from a gut level, and I'm certain that he'd like to do that over again, even if it's seen as crossing over into independence for the general election. I don't think that's what it was about.
And the key criticism from a lot of conservatives seems to be this: if you can't protect people's privacy in the bathroom, how can you protect the borders?
Yeah, look, I don't know if you can jump to the borders because Donald Trump has been very clear about building a wall and border security and stopping the bad guys. And that's one of the reasons why he's taken such a hold on this electorate this cycle.
Well, Donald Trump, go ahead, sir.
As a father of 3 daughters, I can tell you it's troubling for me. Last night at a restaurant, I had to take my 5-year-old to the bathroom, and she wanted to go with my daughter, my older daughter, into the women's room instead of the men's room, which of course makes sense and is logical. And when a 5-year-old knows that, I think that others should as well.
David, Donald Trump has promised to be more presidential. Turns out his new campaign chief, Paul Manafort, spoke to the RNC at its meeting in Hollywood, Florida yesterday. Paul said that Trump is, quote, just playing a part, but will change his persona. Now, someone in the room recorded and released a portion of that conversation. Let's listen to what was said.
And that's what's important from our standpoint, for you to understand that he gets it. And that the part that he's been playing is evolving into the part that now you've been expecting, but he wasn't ready for it because he had to first feed the first stage. The negatives will come down, the image is going to change, but Clinton is still going to be crooked Hillary. And that's what we'll be seeing a lot more.
So apparently, this being a competition, the knives are coming out as this audio was released. And of course, the key passage is Paul Manafort saying the part he's been playing is evolving. And indeed, Mr. Trump yesterday on the Today Show says he sometimes says things for, quote, entertainment value. Will the RNC and these Stop Trump supporters ever warm up to Mr. Trump as a candidate?
Well, let's bifurcate that into two different things. One is Donald Trump, by all accounts, has had, I believe it is now over $2 billion in earned media. That's because he says things that are somewhat outrageous, somewhat over the top. And Donald Trump has been masterful at dominating the media. And that's one of the reasons why he has lasted. One of the reasons why there were 17 candidates at the beginning of this race, and now it's down to really 2. John Kasich, I don't pay much attention to. But it is still that Donald Trump knows how to market. He knows how to play that game, having come from a reality TV world. And that's something that other candidates are frustrated by but admire. I spoke to one of those former candidates this week that was running for president against him, and he said something to the effect of last August, when it was some of the key moments, Donald Trump had like 575 minutes of television, and he had 17 seconds.
Well, you take a look at that discrepancy, and that was true in terms of mass media, especially television, but it's also been social media where Mr. Trump has made quite an impression, and his supporters going to social media to speak out on behalf of their candidate in the wake of that comment on transgender bathrooms. For example, here's what David emailed into us. He says what Trump meant was that people should use common sense and use the appropriate bathroom. I have a solution. Make all bathrooms family bathrooms and stop gender segregation and use common respect and sense. Now, we use this comment, David, because it's illustrative of Trump supporters backing their candidate to a point where they try to find a solution for him. That kind of indulgence, is that going to lead to success for Trump when it comes to securing the Republican nomination?
Well, it certainly worked so far. Whether that continues or not, I don't know. But I can tell you that as somebody who will support Donald Trump if he's the nominee, I was troubled by that response, by that answer. I believe that he needs to come out and clarify that. And I believe you'll see at least him try to tidy that up, because the last thing he needs is for Indiana voters next week, which he's in a dogfight for with Ted Cruz, to go the wrong way, which then leads to bad things in California. So I think he's going to need to pay attention to this problem.
Let me just ask you this, David, because you live across the river in Maryland. You'll have a primary to vote in next Tuesday. 20 seconds, what you see and hear among your neighbors. Do you think it's going to have an impact next Tuesday?
I do. I think that people are excited about next Tuesday in Maryland for the first time, in my lifetime. I've been involved in politics in Maryland since 1984, and it was really 1976, so before my time, that the Maryland Republican primary has mattered. And so there's a lot of excitement out in Maryland right now.
David Bossie, tonight from Washington, D.C. at Citizens United. David, we appreciate your time.
Thanks, JD.